We're expecting a couple of major economic reports this hour as the White House touts the savings it has brought to Americans ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday.
Peter Doocy joins us now outside the White House with the latest. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. And officials here believe the key to keeping prices for everything down is keeping the price of gas down. And so that is why, before we get these key inflation numbers about 30 minutes from now, the official statement from the White House says, after inheriting the worst inflation crisis in 40 years from Joe Biden and the Democrats, the Trump administration's actions to unleash American energy regulations and crush inflation are translating into lower gas prices in many states and a decrease in the cost of Thanksgiving dinner. Make no mistake, this is not mission accomplished. But there is no denying that prices that ballooned up during the Biden years are still pretty high. A new Fox News poll finds 85% say groceries are up, 78% say utilities are up, 67% say healthcare is up, 66% say housing is up, and 54% say gas is up. House Speaker Mike Johnson says we have an affordability agenda, as the president has been touting, and we have to do that in earnest. Healthcare is part of that, but it's just the costs across the board. And a huge wild card when it comes to the price of energy is Venezuela. They have the largest proven oil reserves in the entire world. We don't yet know how a potential American military action there could impact the global supply and then the global price of oil. Back to you.
And Peter, you got those two massive sanctions went in on Friday, and those two Russian oil companies, Rosneft
Yes.
and Lukoil. So that's going to make a difference.
And look, they put those new sanctions on, and then suddenly it seems like there might be some action, even if it is a long shot right now, but there might be some meaningful movement towards a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine once and for all, or at least really start to wind things down by Thursday.
Hey, last question, Peter. You might not know this, but who initiated the call with China yesterday? Was it us?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like it was one of the shorter calls, because typically when the president and Xi talk, because of the translation, it's got to be like at least 2 hours. This one was an hour. They had something that they needed to address. They told us that it was just about trade and scheduling visits. President Trump's going to go to Beijing. Xi's going to come probably to Florida for the G7 next year. But we don't know who initiated it. And there might be more to it, because we know that they did talk a little bit about Russia, but they're insisting that that was not the main purpose of the goal. But it could have been President Trump tells somebody, I need to talk to Xi, and tells him, okay, this is the final deal. Just FYI, don't mess it up.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
And of course, the White House is eager to get all of these things off of the table, because what they do want to talk about is the issue of affordability. What they want to talk about is, and obviously it's very, very difficult to dig out. The White House is correct about this. Very difficult to dig out of the affordability crisis that 9% inflation under Joe Biden puts you in. And they want to focus foursquare on an America First economic agenda.
Yeah, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, says it's going to take a little bit of time. We've had all these executive orders over the last week, and we have them going into December. And he said we're tackling all of these to end the Biden regulations. But he said our goal is to reduce the cost of living. They just have a different way of doing it than the Democrats. We have Mom Donnie, who won in a blue state. We have the race in New Jersey. A Democrat won in that state as well for governor. So we have these individuals that are running in blue states saying we're going to make it more affordable. However, the people in these states are still voting for Democrats, even though the cost of living has been high in these blue states under Democrats in the past.
Yeah, so the number one issue that you're worried about, groceries. Number two is housing. Charles Payne says, move to the right state and you'll pay less. Watch.
Look where affordability is least. The least amount where you cannot afford to live. It's not rural America. It's New York City. It's Honolulu. It's all blue. It's all blue. Think about this, what happened with education. President Obama, he took out banks. He said, no, but we don't want middlemen in this. We'll just stamp everything. We'll just stamp it. Let the government do it.
You mean student loans?
Student loans, right? That went through so regulation is big government. Really, it's the central key. You say, how can we bring health care down? How can we bring food down? How can we bring education down? Get government out.
And that's going to be key. If you want to start building, you got to help with regulation. I think that Trump was saying to Mondami, You can't build anything in New York. It's very hard. So you have to cut regulation. Is he prepared to do that?
Yeah. How funny was it during that Oval Office meeting, which was spectacular to watch? You had Mamdani sitting there talking about building new residential structures in New York City next to President Trump, who's actually spent his entire life building
a lot of these buildings
yeah,
right
exactly.
here. Yeah.
And he's just sort of, quietly sitting there like, oh, yeah, like you have any idea what you're talking about.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.